What makes a motor legendary? Maybe making good power? Well, how about revolutionary? I would say being able to inspire. This is exactly what a certain Toyota Motor Series managed to do. Let's take a trip back in time. The year is 1991. The 2JZ was just released for the first time. Now, you're probably thinking this video will be about the 2JZ, but it's not. It's about the 2JZ's grandfather. Let's go a little further back. Back to 1979. You guys asked for it, so here it is. The 1G-GTE. If you've never heard of it, I don't blame you. They were never sold in the States. All 1G motors share the same 2-liter displacement. That's as much as a single Coca-Cola bottle. This is important for later, keep this in mind. This motor started life as a single overhead cam 2-valve. It made a whopping 125 horsepower. Not really anything special about it. Toyota eventually got around to upgrading. They introduced the 1G-GTE, being Toyota's first time making a 24-valve twin-cam motor. But Toyota didn't do it alone. Toyota partnered with Yamaha, the motorcycle company, and Instrument, to design the head. This wasn't the only partnership between Toyota and Yamaha, however. Others include the 1JZ, (4AGE), and the Lexus LFA V10. This isn't about Yamaha, let's get back on topic. With this change, the 1G-GTE managed to push out 158 horsepower during its peak, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but you have to remember this was introduced in 1982. This motor even managed to win the Japan Society of Mechanical Engineers Medal for new technology for the first year it came to market. This motor came in a variety of vehicles, including the Toyota Chaser Mark II Cresta, the Crown, the Soarer, and the Celica XX. If you're not sure what that last one is, it was sold as the Mark II Supra here in the States. A prototype of this model was showed at the Tokyo Motor Show in 1983. Nicknamed Lazary A-X, it had variable valve timing, twin turbos, variable displacement, and even distributorless ignition. This technology was way ahead of its time, considering Toyota started producing VVTi in 1995, over 10 years after this prototype. The motor was put in a crazy looking concept car called the FX1. It kind of looks like an early version of the Toyota Serra, a very cool looking coupe with butterfly doors. Now let's go look at another 1G model, the 1G-FE. This was likely the most common 1G, being offered in Toyota Atezza, the Crown, Chaser Mark II Cresta, the Verosa, and the Supra, the Soarer, being made from 1988 all the way until 2008. This version of the 1G made 138 horsepower until 1998 when VVTi was added, bumping it up to 158. During this time, Toyota also made the 1G-GE, a replacement to the 1G-GEU. Toyota changed a bit in the head design compared to the FE, making it identical to the very popular 4AGE, and also detuned it to 148 horsepower. Let's get into some exciting stuff. The boosted models. There were two different boosted 1Gs, the 1G-GTE and the 1G-GZE. The 1G-GTE was a twin-turbo monster that made an earth-shattering 207 horsepower. This just so happens to be the most powerful G motor made, and also Japan's first twin-turbo motor, or at least production motor. It was put into a very limited 3 cars, the Mark III Supra, the Chaser Mark II Cresta, and the Soarer from the years 1986 to 1992. Let's talk about the other boosted 1G, the 1G-GZE. This was a supercharged version of the 1G. It came in an even more limited 2 cars, the Crown and the Chaser Mark II Cresta, in very limited years from 88 to 90. These boosted versions were replaced by the 1JZ, GTE, and GE in the early 90s. Remember how all 1Gs were the same size of a Coke? Let's talk about why that's important and why the 1G was made in the first place. There was higher tax rates for larger displacement motors raising by 500cc. At the time, over 90% of Japan drove cars with smaller than 2000cc motors. With that, only around 5% drove vehicles with higher than 2000cc, making it a very niche market. To capitalize on that 2000cc and below market, there was a race from major JDM companies to make a high-power, low-liter motor. Nissan ended up winning this race with the release of the FJ20, a 2-liter 16-valve 4-cylinder found in the R30 Skyline. The 1G was Toyota's answer to this competition. They managed to spin the 1G 2,000 RPM higher than their previous inline 6. Let's move into this motor's problems. For starters, it drinks a lot of oil. And the oil it doesn't drink, it spits on the floor. It's very common for your 1G to leak oil. An easy fix for this would be to replace the oil pressure sensor, as that's where it commonly leaks from. Speaking of the oil pressure sensor, those also went bad. The turbo typically didn't last past 60,000 miles either. With the right care, they were very reliable engines for their time. But today, most are old and worn. With these issues in mind, let's get into tuning and making some extra power. A completely stock 1G-GTE can make around 300 horsepower on stock internals. Your typical bolt-on upgrades can be done, such as a better intercooler, exhaust, intake, standalone ECU, etc. For anything more, going single turbo, forged pistons and rods, and a good head porting will be needed. This is just for building a GTE, so you better have extra deep pockets if you really think about building a non-GTE. If you really want power and just power, a JZ swap would be much cheaper, less risk, and a lot more reliable. Now, the 1G wasn't looked at as an inferior motor to the 7M and JZ. Just nobody was really ever bothered to develop parts for this motor, considering the better options. There is little to no aftermarket with virtually no aftermarket in the States. Why would you spend the same amount of effort swapping in a 1G, when you can swap in a JZ and have the JZ outperform it in every way? But with all this, the 1G series was pretty revolutionary for its time, being Toyota's first 4-valve dual overhead cam engine and Japan's first twin-turboed motor. Both the 1JZ and 2JZ used twin turbos, so it's likely this motor inspired them to do so. It truly was a turning point for Toyota's inline 6 when it came out. Thanks for watching till the end. Check out my other videos here or here. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and comment any suggestions you have. See ya!